In the past, Gao Tu never asked for too much. He never dreamed of fairy tale endings, or of love that could move mountains. All he wanted was a little equality. As an Omega, Gao Tu's only hope was that one day, Shen Wenlang could treat him with fairness. Not as someone lower, not as someone shameful, but simply as a human being. Whether as a friend or as a colleague, that would have been enough. If only he didn't have to keep lying. If only he could stay by Shen Wenlang's side openly with his true identity without shame. That would have been more than enough for Gao Tu's heart. But now, things had changed. Now he had become greedy, and that greed terrified him. Because Shen Wenlang had unknowingly turned him into something darker. From a liar into a thief, a greedy thief who not only stole a job opportunity, but also stole something far worse. The most painful, humiliating intimacy of his life. And still, even after all of that, Gao Tu's heart betrayed him. Because sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he couldn't stop the fantasies, the wild, uncontrollable dreams. That maybe one day, Shen Wenlang could accept him, accept his love. The thought itself made Gao Tu shiver in terror. It was madness. It was like being trapped in a horror movie where reality itself twisted into a nightmare. He began to wonder if he was hallucinating, or if insanity had finally claimed him. But none of that compared to the real horror that awaited him. Because the moment Gao Tu found out that he was pregnant, his mind went completely blank. The pheromone doctor's voice was cold and stern, his words striking like thunder. "Mr. Gao, you cannot keep this child. You must terminate immediately." The words cut straight through his chest. The doctor's expression was firm, unwavering. As a patient with a pheromone disorder, it is impossible for you to carry a child safely on your own. Without the cooperation of your partner, this is beyond dangerous. Mr. Gao, you cannot do this. The logic was undeniable. After years of treating patients, the doctor knew everything about cases like his. He had even assumed wrongly that Gao Tu must have had an alpha partner. One who despised Omega pheromones, one who rejected Gao Tu's natural scent. But now there was no one, no protector, no partner. Only Gao Tu, carrying the weight of an impossible life inside him. Out of responsibility for your safety, the doctor continued firmly, I strongly advise you to give up this pregnancy. Abandon the child. It is the only option. But Gao Tu's lips trembled as he whispered the impossible question. Is there really no other way? His face was pale, his body weak. Yet still he asked. Still he fought. I've heard, he said softly, that artificial soothing pheromones exist now. Or maybe I could try using the pheromones of another alpha. Someone with a higher compatibility rate. The doctor's eyes filled with pity. This is not practical. He looked at the fragile Omega before him, emaciated, exhausted, tortured by nausea and sleepless nights. Even doctors who had met him by chance could not bear the sight. And then, with bitterness, the doctor spoke words that pierced deeper than knives. That alpha you like is such a scumbag. The words stabbed into Gao Tu's chest. He shook his head instantly, his voice trembling. He's not. He lowered his gaze, his voice breaking into a whisper. It's my own fault. The older Omega doctor slammed the medical chart onto the desk, anger finally breaking through. What's wrong with you? No matter what your problems are, no matter how you see yourself, you cannot get pregnant alone. That alpha, the one who despises Omegas but still used you, does he take no responsibility at all? But Gao Tu didn't want to argue. He didn't want to explain. Because what was the point? At this stage, blaming anyone was useless. What he needed was a solution. Something, anything, to save the child. His voice was soft, almost pleading. Doctor, I know you're saying this for my own good, but I really want this child. His face burned with shame as he confessed the truth out loud. He wanted Shen Wenlang's child, even if it was wrong, even if it was foolish. He still wanted to keep it. For a moment, silence filled the clinic. Then with his head bowed, Gao Tu forced himself to continue. Why can't I use other people's pheromones to get through this? Why must it be only his? The doctor sighed. Pregnancy is already more difficult for omegas with pheromone disorders. Without the comfort of your alpha's pheromones, your reactions will only worsen. You've already seen how severe your symptoms are. Can't artificial pheromones or other alphas help? Gao Tu's voice cracked, desperate. But the doctor shook his head. Artificial pheromones are limited, and as for other alphas... He hesitated. Before his voice grew heavy. There is a great moral risk in using them. Do you really want to bind yourself to another alpha's pheromones while carrying this child? Gao Tu's face burned red with humiliation. The silence that followed was suffocating. At last, the doctor relented, his voice softer now. Of course, if there are volunteers, pheromone extracts can be used. Modern technology allows us to separate pheromones from blood. But your condition is severe. Even then, the chances are slim. Without the child's father, it will be nearly impossible. The words hit Gao Tu like a final verdict. But then, with trembling lips, he asked the one question he had been too afraid to say until now. But what if we could fight for it? The doctor looked startled. What do you mean? Gao Tu's hands tightened. His voice was low, ashamed, but determined. The father's pheromones. If I could get his pheromone extract, I could save the child, couldn't I? At that time, Gao Tu still believed in miracles. He still believed Shen Wenlang might be reasonable. He still believed in hope. He even went so far as to draft legal documents, a property waiver, an inheritance waiver, a parent-child severance agreement. He stripped himself of everything, tried to clear away every suspicion, every stain. All he wanted was to keep the child, not the man, just the child. But reality is cruel, crueler than any nightmare. After weeks of torment, of preparing himself, of mustering the courage to finally speak, Gao Tu approached Shen Wenlang. He thought, maybe there was a chance. Maybe if he begged, Shen Wenlang might agree to give him just this one thing. But Shen Wenlang's only response was ice cold. Of course. Abort it. Those 4 words shattered everything. In that moment, Gao Tu's last hope crumbled into dust. The walls of his world collapsed, leaving only despair. There would be no rescue, no help, no miracle. Not from artificial pheromones, not from other alphas, and certainly not from Shen Wenlang. No matter what he did, no matter how much he sacrificed, he could not save his child. And so, Gao Tu made his choice. A choice born of heartbreak, of helplessness, of despair so deep it swallowed his soul. He would never ask Shen Wenlang again. Never beg. Never speak another word. Because the truth was clear now. To Shen Wenlang, this child meant nothing. And perhaps, so did he. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss more deep and emotional stories like this one.